I was confused and a little disappointed when Elizabeth suddenly left the shower. She just walked out on me after we had only been in there for about 5 minutes. She didn't say anything. She didn't dry off. She just left. I called after my girlfriend, but she didn't respond. She opened the bathroom door and walked out, water dripping onto the carpet. I decided not to go after her. I just continued on with my shower. After roughly 5 minutes, I was done. Elizabeth still hadn't come back. I dried off and got dressed. Still no sign of my girlfriend. I thought her actions were weird, since Elizabeth was always so open with me. She had never done anything like this before. I decided that the best course of action was to go out and check on her and make sure she was okay. I left the bathroom and followed the trail of wet footprints she had left on the floor. She had apparently walked straight out of the bedroom and into the living room. The trail zigzagged for a bit until it reached the cabinet on the far right side of the room. Where the footprints ended was a massive, damp blob. It looked as if she had sat down on the floor and then vanished into thin air. Confused, I looked around on the floor to see any indication of where she had gone. It was a very odd sight. My girlfriend seemed to have completely disappeared. Finally, after puzzling for a while, I saw a few drops under the cabinet itself, as if she carefully climbed under it without touching the floor. Slowly, I bent down and looked under the cabinet, and I saw a terrifying sight, one that I'll never be able to forget. Elizabeth's naked body was shoved between the cabinet and the wall. Her face was pointing in my direction, and I could see that her eyes were wide open and her mouth was wide, as if she was trying to scream but no sound was coming out. She was still dripping with water. I frantically stood up and pulled the cabinet back from the wall, and her body fell onto the carpet, and that's when I knew for sure that she was dead. There were bloody gouges all over her back and head. The gouges didn't look like they were made by a human. They definitely weren't made with a knife or any other weapon. The cuts looked like they were made with claws. Terrified, I backed up and looked for my phone. I couldn't see it anywhere. I began desperately turning the living room open looking for it. My girlfriend was dead, no doubt about that, but I wasn't thinking straight, and thought I could call an ambulance for help. The phone, however, was nowhere in sight. After I had been searching for a few minutes, I heard a noise come from the guest room. I stopped cold in my tracks. I heard it again. It sounded like something was being dragged across the floor. I carefully made my way toward the door to the guest room. I decided to peek around the frame to check what was inside. What I saw inside terrified me to my very core. There was something inside the room. What it was is impossible to describe. All I know that it wasn't human. Its back was turned to me, but I could tell that it wasn't human. It was breathing, but beyond that, it's as if the sight was too much for my human brain. I cannot remember what I saw, yet I know exactly what it looked like, down to the smallest detail. Maybe I sound insane, maybe I am insane. I just don't know anymore. As soon as I saw it, my heart seemingly stopped as my mind felt like it was melting. I just stood in place, watching the thing pulse. After what felt like hours, I was finally snapped out of my trance when the creature, whatever it was, started moving again. It slowly began to turn its head in my direction. I knew I had to get away from this thing. Still, in a state of shock, I backed away. I didn't know where to go. The guest room is parallel to our front door, and we live on the 6th floor of our apartment complex, so I can't escape through a window. The only place I could think to go was back to the bathroom. I booked it back to my bedroom, and then to the bathroom. I ran faster than I ever have, fueled by pure adrenaline. As soon as I made it inside, closed, and locked the door, I collapsed onto the cold tile. The house was silent. Now that I was still, The loss of Elizabeth hit me like a freight train. We had been together for almost 3 years by now. We had seen and done so much together. Tears welled up in my eyes. Then I remembered the creature in my house. I was trapped in my own house. I didn't know what to do. I was in complete despair. After about 10 minutes, I started hearing the dragging sounds again. I would hear a few of the noises consecutively, then there would be a pause, and about 15 seconds later the cycle would repeat itself. The last time I heard the dragging sound, it was accompanied by another sound. It took me a while to realize that the sound was a knock. The creature was knocking at my door. It knew I was here. I slowly backed away into the corner of the bathroom counter. I grabbed a razor and held it in front of me as a weapon, though I knew it wouldn't do much good. After an agonizing minute or so of silence, the creature spoke to me. My blood ran cold when I realized that it was using Elizabeth's voice. "Jason, why did you lock the door?" the monster asked. "I just went out to check if I left the oven on." As crazy as it sounds, I almost stood up and opened the door. I really wanted the voice to truly be Elizabeth's. I was suffering the trauma of what I'd seen. But I remembered all too clearly the dead body of my girlfriend. She was dead, and if I let the creature in, I would be too. So I didn't respond. I just sat there, razor in hand, waiting in silence. The creature continued to speak in Elizabeth's voice after that. The voice would plead with me, saying it was worried. It said that it loved me. It even said that it wanted to marry me. I just tried to ignore it, tears streaming down my face. About an hour after the voice started, it began knocking as well. I covered my ears and curled up into a ball, praying to whatever God was out there to make it stop. But it never did. It just kept going. It's been 14 hours since then. I found my phone in the laundry basket, which is how I'm writing this now, in hopes that someone will come and save me. I've tried calling 911, but I haven't gotten a response. I've tried contacting friends and family. That hasn't worked either. It's almost as if this monster had closed me off from the world, except for a very small window. That's why I'm sharing my story here, with the small hope that someone will read this and rescue me. I know it isn't likely, but it's all I have. But the worst thing about all of this is that over the last few hours, I've been having this bizarre urge to leave, to just get up and walk straight out to the creature. I can't take this for much longer. Please, if there's anyone out there, send help soon.